fire this morning.
Chuck Young sworn in as Victoria Police Chief this afternoon.
And 2 staff members in Fairfax, Virginia are in the hospital after a man attacked them with a baseball bat.
We had some afternoon storms today, and we're going to get more tomorrow. But when does the dry weather get here? We'll talk about that coming up.
And the St. Joseph Lady Flyers are taking on its district rival. We had the latest in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
All right, let's take a first look at your forecast. This is an alert day with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Mac, we got some more rain today, but it looks like the rivers are going down a bit.
Yes, well, that's a good news. We're right at the edge there, and the reason it's still an alert day is because if we get 3 inches of rain in one spot and all of our rivers are so full, it would be a problem. But today, what you saw was the afternoon showers just popped up because of the heating and all the moisture in the ground. They were all moving northbound with the sea breeze as they came into the afternoon. So once the sun goes down, they begin to collapse, and that's good. The only problem is for us, many of our rivers are at bank full, and if we were to get significant rainfall, well, that would be a significant problem. However, after tomorrow, beginning Wednesday, things are looking better, much quieter. In fact, just plain old hot and humid. We'll have more on that coming up in a moment. Don, Karina, back to you.
Mac, thank you. The city of Victoria closed more areas of Riverside Park today. The Texas Zoo and Riverside Golf Course remain open and accessible through Staten Avenue and Memorial Drive at the south end of the park. Workers will monitor the weather and river level. Residents should not try to enter the barricaded areas. The complete list of closures is on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Here are the current river flood warnings posted for the Crossroads from the National Weather Service. In Victoria County, a river flood warning until late Friday morning for the Guadalupe River at Victoria. In Victoria and Calhoun counties, a river flood warning in effect until further notice for the Guadalupe River near Bloomington.
In Victoria, Calhoun, and Goliad counties, a river flood warning in effect until early Wednesday morning at the San Antonio River at Goliad. In DeWitt County, a river flood warning until Tuesday evening for Sandys Creek near Westhoff. In DeWitt County, a river flood warning in effect until Tuesday evening for the Guadalupe River near Cuero. In Lavaca and Jackson County, a river flood warning in effect until Wednesday morning for the Navidad River at Morales. In Lavaca and Jackson counties, a river flood warning in effect until early Tuesday afternoon for the Navidad River near Speaks. Now in Jackson County, a river flood warning in effect until Wednesday afternoon for the Navidad River at Strain Park. And in Jackson County, a river flood warning until early Thursday morning for the Lavaca River near Edna.
In Jackson County, a river flood warning until Tuesday morning for Sandy Creek near Cordell.
An employee at a refinery in southeast Texas has died after a fire around 10 this morning. Several crews responded to the fire at the Marathon Galveston Bay refinery in Texas City. Around 12 p.m., authorities said the fire was under control and contained, but one worker was killed in the fire. There's no word if any other employees were hurt, as the cause of the fire is still under investigation. Earlier this month, a fire at a Shell facility in a nearby deer park sent 9 workers to the hospital.
Police say at least 3 people are dead and 9 hurt, including 2 police officers, in the nation's latest mass shooting, this time in Farmington, New Mexico.
That's right. Investigators say both officers are in stable condition at a local hospital and the 18-year-old suspect now dead. Newly elected Victoria Police Chief Chuck Young sworn into office today. Young has served as the City of Victoria's Deputy Police Chief since 2021. Young's career started back in 1980 when he joined the Dallas Police Department, where he rose to the rank of Major.
There's a lot of goals that we need to do. The crime reduction is a big thing. Back to the community. Our community engagement is strong as it is. I want to make that stronger.
He recently earned the Victoria Police Department's Leadership Award for contributions and advancements towards the department.
Victoria police arrested a man who now faces 8 charges, including kidnapping. Authorities say he abducted his 1-year-old child in the 1400 block of Melrose Avenue Sunday. The suspect and child found in the 4300 block of Halsey Street. The man is an ex-boyfriend to the woman of the child. Police had to use a taser to subdue the suspect. Authorities say he had a knife. He was taken to the hospital. The child was returned to the mother. The suspect's name was not released. 3 people transported to hospital Sunday after an RV exploded at an RV dealer in Wharton. Authorities say the 3 people suffered first and second-degree burns. Wharton police report the gas stove was left on in the RV, causing the explosion. The U.S. southern border remains less chaotic for now after Title 42 was lifted last week.
Meanwhile, a judge has blocked the Biden administration from enacting a plan which would release migrants from custody without a court date.
What started out as a packed week at the southern border is a much different scene this weekend in El Paso, Texas. The border restriction policy, known as Title 42, expired on Thursday, and many border cities are not seeing the surge they anticipated.
On Monday, we saw about 3,000 people there, and the Border Patrol, with assistance from a lot of agencies, went in and handed out handouts to be able to help them register and get processed.
Now in its place, the Biden administration has reverted to the decades-old border policy known as Title 8. It requires longer processing times and imposes consequences for migrants who enter the U.S. illegally.
We've been very, very clear that there are lawful, safe, and orderly pathways to seek relief in the United States, and if one arrives at our southern border, one is going to face tougher consequences, and that is what we are going to deliver.
On Thursday, a judge blocked President Joe Biden's plan to release migrants without court dates following a lawsuit filed by the state of Florida. Under the plan, some migrants would be released on parole on a case-by-case basis and be required to check in with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. On Friday, the White House responded to the lawsuit.
It's sabotage. It is a harmful ruling, and the Department of Justice is going to fight it.
Meanwhile, thousands of personnel and troops sent by the Biden administration continue to help with asylum requests at the southern border. I'm Shelley Malashi reporting.
A Houston woman accused of shooting a family member in Wharton, now in custody of the Wharton Police Department. 21-year-old Tanya Miles jailed on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of firearm by felon.
Senate Bill 896 is making its way through the Texas legislature, and free speech advocates are sounding the alarm. SB 896 could change the way Texas protects you, businesses, and news organizations like 25 News Now from trivial lawsuits when it comes to free speech. The Texas Citizens Participation Act, known as anti-SLAPP laws, protects people who speak out on matters of public concern and keeps them from getting sued. SB 896 revises the act. The House has until May 23rd to put SB 896 on the calendar for a second reading. After that, the Senate would vote on it and it would end up on the governor's desk.
This brings us to your viewer poll. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote right now. Here's the question. Are you worried about SB 896 affecting freedom of speech? Yes or no? Let's look at the numbers. 84% of you say yes and 16% of you say no. We thank you so much for voting, and please come to our website crossroadstoday.com to vote on our viewer poll.
That's right. Now, the Texas House approved Senate Bill 14 on Monday. The Texas Tribune reports it would ban trans people younger than 18 from getting certain transition-related care. It also would ban transition-related surgeries. The bill will now return to the Senate, which has already passed a version of the legislation. The Senate can now ask for a conference committee to iron out the difference or accept the House changes and send the bill to Governor Greg Abbott.
2 staff members of Democrat U.S. Representative Jerry Connolly were attacked with a baseball bat today in Fairfax, Virginia. Police say the suspect drove to his office, walked in, and started his assault. An investigation is underway to determine the reason. The suspect in custody with pending charges. 2 people were attacked in their upper bodies. They were taken to hospitals in non-life-threatening condition.
You could absolutely tell that the people inside were scared. They were hiding. I mean, someone swinging a bat around, I would be scared as well.
The suspect reportedly filed a lawsuit against the CIA last year, claiming the agency is guilty of brutally torturing him. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. A report claims the FBI should not have investigated Donald Trump's campaign ties to Russia in the 2016 elections.
Also ahead, 3 family members were killed Sunday morning in a crash.
The images and information from Farmington, New Mexico immediately put another community on edge.
We are actively looking at several blocks of this crime scene to determine what
Police say at least 3 people are dead and 9 hurt, including 2 police officers in the nation's latest mass shooting, this time in Farmington, New Mexico.
Investigators say both officers are in stable condition at a local hospital and the 18-year-old suspect dead.
The images and information from Farmington, New Mexico immediately put another community on edge.
we are actively looking at several blocks of this crime scene to determine what actually happened while we were responding to this scene. Because of the numerous phone calls that we did receive, we are trying to gather a lot of information that came in very rapidly.
Farmington's deputy police chief says the shooter was 18 years old, and before he was shot and killed by officers, both a city and a state police officer were injured. The tragedy prompted statements from the governor, who said she would not stop fighting against gun violence. In Washington, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland delivered the keynote address at the National Peace Officers Memorial Service, honoring fallen officers like U.S. Capitol Police Officer Howard Liebengood, who defended the Capitol on January 6, 2021.
Tragically, within days of the attack, Officer Liebengood died by suicide.
Brave police officers have faced down an historic wave of violent crime from the front lines. Even as defund the police radicalism forced them to do it with fewer resources and thinner ranks.
Monday, the Senate Minority Leader touted a proposed bill that would toughen sentencing for assaulting or killing officers on a day the dangers they face were all too clear. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
An overnight fire at a 4-story hotel in New Zealand's capital has killed at least 6 people. Police say they don't yet have an exact number of the people dead, although they believe it's fewer than 10 people. Emergency services were called out to the hotel at about 12:30 a.m. Emergency responders said 52 people were accounted for, but that number still remains unaccounted for.
A new report claims the FBI should not have launched a full probe into the connection between Donald Trump's campaign and Russia during the 2016 election. Special counsel John Durham's 300-plus page report also says the FBI used, quote, raw, unanalyzed, and uncorroborated intelligence, unquote, to launch the probe. It also used a different standard when weighing concerns about election interference in Hillary Clinton's campaign. The special counsel did not recommend any new charges against individuals or, quote, wholesale changes, unquote, about how the FBI handles politically charged investigations.
And now this next story, a tragedy on a California freeway on Mother's Day.
A mother and 2 girls killed in a crash near Whitewater.
So this was a traumatic scene with injuries of young people and a mother on Mother's Day. And it's heart-wrenching.
It's a sight you never want to see, especially on Mother's Day, the aftermath of a deadly crash.
It's devastating. It's sad.
The 2-car collision involving a black Tesla and a red Chevrolet Suburban closed down a 6-mile stretch of Interstate 10 eastbound from Main Street to Hagen Lehman Way for around 8 hours. Investigators say the Suburban was hit in the left rear by the Tesla.
Unknown if that vehicle had changed lanes or the Tesla had changed lanes.
According to CHP, everyone inside the Suburban was related. We spoke to a family member who was driving separately and witnessed the crash. He says they were on their way to Indio.
The two vehicles collided, and the Chevrolet then hit the center divider, and two parties were ejected.
CHP officer Jason Montez says those two victims were identified as 10 and 12-year-old girls.
After that, the Chevrolet rolled over, and three other parties were ejected, and one party was partially ejected.
The person partially ejected has been identified as a 33-year-old woman who died at the scene. Thousands of drivers were delayed by the accident, including Sandy White and her daughter Jasmine Kolick, who were planning to spend Mother's Day in Joshua Tree.
It's been quite a journey.
They say traffic started backing up into Temecula.
People were just frantically trying to get off the road, and they were going down hills, and it was kind of scary because you just saw so much recklessness.
After Sunday's incident, they say they're grateful to be safe and together.
Today's supposed to be such an important day of celebration for people that you love, and so it's devastating that it's never good for something like this to happen, but especially today when people are wanting to be together and be with their loved ones.
California Highway Patrol officers say the Suburban was carrying 9 family members at the time of the crash, and only 8 seatbelts were available. A new bill is on the way to the U.S. Senate that would provide new guidelines for Ticketmaster. Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal introduced the new Unlock Ticketing Markets Act. He expects it to be a bipartisan bill. He called Ticketmaster and the Live Nation Entertainment Company a, quote, monopolistic mess, unquote, and vowed to pass the legislation to open up room for competition. It would also force the company to list service fees for tickets up front.
That meltdown was just a symptom of an industry that is a complete mess. The ticketing industry is a mess. It's a monopolistic mess because Ticketmaster and Live Nation have a stranglehold on ticket sales.
Last November, Ticketmaster melted down during sales for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, prompting fans to speak out against the company.
Well, we are looking at 74 degrees as you head out the door. It's fairly comfortable, kind of quiet. We had those afternoon thunderstorms, but they're all gone as of now. Tomorrow, more thunder showers, but hopefully that could be the end of it. So we'll be talking about that coming up in just a moment. everyone. I hope you had a good weekend. I'm glad the rain ended on Sunday so that everybody could get out and go see Mom. I also noticed hundreds of barbecue pits that were burning, and you could smell it all over the place. Anyway, 85 was our high today. Officially, we didn't get any rain officially at the airport. However, I know some of you got your shoes wet, and I think Don came in kind of soaked, right? Was that you, or was that a new? Oh, was that a new hairdo? Was that
Fully soaked, yeah.
He was soaked because he had a new hairdo on. Anyway, so the shower activity has all collapsed as of this hour of the night. What happened is that the storm, or the upper air storm that caused the big stuff over the weekend, that pulled away, okay? So this was basically driven by the heating of the afternoon. So when the sun breaks through, starts the warming, air starts rising, gets up into the condensation level, and next thing you know, you got a cloud. Next thing you go, you got a big dark thunderstorm on top of you. At this hour, however, nothing around the county. Everything is basically moved inland and is also falling apart because it's lost the heating of the sun this afternoon. Now, tomorrow will be another day of when we get thunderstorms like this. But then all of a sudden it sort of ends. The reason for that? Well, that's what I'm going to be telling you about. What we have, of course, is a lot of watches and warnings that are slowly being dropped, and that's good. But river warnings for the San Antonio, for the Guadalupe, for the Navidad, and for the Colorado. I got that right this time. I'm thinking that's the San Bernard River. But they're all in flood stage. And so if we get, a heavy downpour in the wrong place, these things will be out of bank. So we need to be sort of watching it. But the good news is that as of tomorrow, a lot of this is going to go away. I'll tell you why. Here is a very weak frontal system. To the north is somewhat drier air, slightly cooler, maybe 5-8 degrees. And down here is a very humid stuff. This will actually drift down toward us. It will be the triggering mechanism for the thunder showers tomorrow. But then as it passes us, we'll pick up a dry northwest wind. So all of a sudden we're going to go from 80 miles an hour to a dead stop. So that little front will make a big difference over the next couple of days. But for Tuesday still, you're going to see some thunder and hear some thunder and see some lightning. Although this is not severe weather like what we had on Friday. So there's the front, and all of a sudden Wednesday, all the clouds are gone away. So all of a sudden we've got a couple of nice days after that. But then you're going to feel the heat and humidity rolling in. So what's going to happen is that after the front moves through, high pressure builds on top of us. High pressure is basically sinking air. So as it sinks, it doesn't allow the thunderstorm to build. So it sort of squeezes it down. Problem is, all that moisture is down there where you and I are walking around. So it's going to be quite steamy, quite humid as we get on through. So there you see, you'll notice right about here, there's that little front, right? And we're on Tuesday evening. Watch how it goes. It all flows down. That's that little northwest wind that we're going to get. And you can see how by Wednesday, it's all pretty much gone. So here is your extended outlook. We don't expect any more alert days this week, so that's good. We've got a good chance of thunder showers driven by afternoon heating tomorrow. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, somewhere around about there. And then the high 82 because of the cloud cover. The wind will be very gentle on Wednesday, but it should be drier out of the north. And we're looking for partly cloudy skies. So we go from that to almost nothing, and then fairly comfortable for one day. Then the heat and the humidity starts building back up, and we start getting up to about 88, 90 degrees. So it is going to be warm and quite humid as we get to the second half of the week. But tomorrow should be the last day of thunder showers. That is your 7-day forecast. We've got this QR code. If you scan that with your phone, you can put Crossroads Today on your phone, and we can be with you wherever you want to go. We will now toss it over to Gino.
Thanks, Mac. A local gymnast competed over the weekend to try to bring home another championship. That's coming up after the break. Howdy Crossroads. Doyle Brunson, dubbed the Godfather of Poker, has died at the age of 89, according to a family statement shared by his agent on Twitter. Brunson won 10 World Series of Poker tournaments during a legendary career before retiring in 2018. Rarely seen without his cowboy hat, Brunson was inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame in 1988 and later became an ambassador of the game. As well as being one of the world's most prominent poker players, Brunson also wrote the famous book Super System, which is still used today by players learning the game and strategy. St. Joseph Lady Flyers season comes to an end tonight. The Lady Flyers got off to a rocky start as they allowed a home run in the first inning to go down 3-0. The St. Joseph Lady Flyers scratched a run out in the third inning, but the Panthers kept adding the pressure and eventually making the lead 6-1. The Lady Flyers had a big fifth inning, scoring multiple runs, including an Aliana St. Jean home run, but they would fall short and lose 9-4. 3 different schools, 5 different teams are moving on to the next round of playoffs in baseball and softball. The Shiner softball team is coming off its win over Ganado and will get Granger in Game 1 Thursday at Dripping Springs High School. The Shiner baseball team is coming off a win in a win-or-go-home game versus Refugio and will now face Weimar. Game 1 is Thursday in Rice Consolidated. Hallettsville softball is looking for its back-to-back state title. The Brahmas beat Industrial and will now face Santana Gertrudis Academy with Game 1 on Wednesday at 6:30 at A.C. Jones High School. Over to the boys' side, the Brahmas get Jordanton Game 1 Friday at 4:30 in Karn City. And lastly, the Industrial baseball team gets Columbus. These two teams split the series with Columbus, but dropped the last game 11-4. The UHV baseball team is hoping to continue the momentum they had in Red River Athletic Conference Championship game in the NAIA tournament. Down in Hattiesburg, their Jaguars fell behind early in the game against the Union Bulldogs, but some big-time hits changed the complexity of the game. The Jags came back and tied the game thanks to a Zach Lee home run in the 4th inning. From then on, the Jaguars had a stranglehold on the game, including a 6-run 7th inning. Raul Lopez led the team with 3 RBIs, including a run driven in the 6th inning. The Jags had a total of 14 hits. The UHV also had another game today, but it was postponed until 9:45 tonight due to the weather. The score is now 1-0 with William Carey winning. And yet another champion is coming back to the Crossroads after the Elite Challenge in Irving. Local gymnast Jaden McCarter was dominant. She finished in first place after the preliminaries, and heading into the final, she had a 3-point lead. She would hold on and extend that lead with her next few jumps and would go on to win by 4 points, meaning she is the 2023 Level 10 Elite Challenge champion. This is not her first gold medal this year or even this month. This is the second one she's earned in the month of May. She also won the Region 3 championships, where she won the championship in trampoline and double mini. Well, that's your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Gino. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a 101-year-old war veteran receives his college diploma 80 years later.
President Biden and top congressional leaders, including House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, expected to meet again this week on the debt ceiling issue. House Republicans say they will raise the debt limit $1.5 trillion if cuts are made to the budget. Moody's analytics show a prolonged debt limit breach could cut thousands of jobs. Some economic analysts are warning a recession is likely to come sometime during the second half of this year. Tip prompts are becoming more common at digital self-checkout kiosks in cafes, sports stadiums, and airports. A report from the Wall Street Journal says many customers who were asked to tip workers with whom they had no interaction were frustrated with the prompts. The report also states some customers were willing to tack on the extra fees, but the majority said the tip cues were confusing, and many said they were unsure where the money was going. That's always my question. Where is the money going?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If you see the waiter and you got good service,
yeah,
terrific.
Give
but if
him
it's
or
a
her
robot,
yeah,
and he just charged
Yeah.
you,
yeah, maybe
for
give
service?
Give him some WD-40 or something. You know,
Well, there
keep
you
it
go.
going.
Now. I've got an Allen wrench I could let you borrow, you know.
That's my tip for tonight. And Mac now has his weather tips.
You bet.
right.
The weather tip is that tomorrow afternoon we're going to see another round of those afternoon pop-up showers. But the good news is by Wednesday night we're picking up a little bit of a north wind, and that's going to really cut the rain chance down. Wednesday, Thursday, not so bad. Friday, Saturday, pretty good. Getting warmer and getting quite humid because of all the water that's still out there. So no additional rain, and we shouldn't have any additional river problems with any floods. Back to you.
Thank you, Mac. Now a 101-year-old veteran and Eastern Iowa native received his chance to walk at graduation after 80 years. Fred Taylor was forced to miss his 1943 graduation because he was enlisted to fight in World War II. Taylor flew fighter planes. He left school in February that year to begin basic training after joining the Army Air Reserves. He served until the fall of 1945. Taylor had some words of advice for his fellow graduates.
Get into the career that you really like and do your best and stick with it and be kind to other people.
Well, Taylor earned his bachelor's degree in music at Cornell College before going on to get his master's at Drake University and becoming a teacher in Iowa and California. Now retired, he says he enjoys doing the daily Sudoku puzzle and playing Wordle. Good for him.
And really, it's just
Incredible.
really amazing. Someone 101 years old,
He looked pretty
going
good.
back to college.
To
I mean,
finish it
that
off.
is just.
You're never too late to go back to
and
college.
I highly recommend it, you see, because when you're a young person going through college, you just want to get out.
That's
If you're going back as
Sure.
a senior, you're going, I really want to learn this. It's a rare composite idea.
And considering he went and battled in World War II, he's probably
yeah.
very lucky that he made it back at all.
He could write books of what he went through, I'm sure.
And we need to read those books to get the history about what happened back then. So good job, man. Good
Yeah,
job.
kudos to him.
101.
Stick with it.
That's
You know,
right.
never give up on your college dreams. Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10. Remember, we're streaming 24/7 on Crossroads Today Plus.
Join Carolina Ostrine and meteorologist Trey Mining for 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.